This is the SkySpeak AI training interface, a browser-based environment designed to simulate pilot interaction with automation in a next-generation cockpit similar to Honeywell Anthem. Here we can see the Home tab, where we're able to identify the pilot, create a new one if we would like, as well as the system status, session, and our training tab. Before we start training, we can first take a look at the other tabs. Here we can see all the different radio frequencies. We also have our number pad, where if we wanted to, we could type in another frequency, and we have the same or similar pilot predict capabilities as Honeywell Anthem. Also, we're able to see our flight plan with different checkpoints, as well as the entire map to fully visualize the flight. We also have our checklist tab, where we can walk through the different checklists and make sure we have checked everything off. Finally, we have our messages tab, where we can see messages from other planes or air traffic controllers, and we are also able to change the altitude here. We can see the altitude change on this dial, as well as down here at the bottom and up here. Speed is also changeable, and we can switch between different modes of automation. So we're able to familiarize ourselves with the SkySpeak AI interface. Now we can go ahead and start a drill. We'll go down to the training tab, press Start Drill, and we'll start with our VNAV descent conflict, a beginner drill. To start, we'll just click Begin Drill. Now we can see that we are currently at 14,000 feet, and we are in vertical navigation or VNAV mode, following a programmed descent with a constraint at 11,000 feet. At this point, the automation is functioning normally. Now, ATC issues a new clearance.
November 389er Hotel Whiskey, cleared to descend and maintain 8,000 feet.
The pilot reads back the clearance and attempts to comply by setting 8,000. So I'll push to talk or hold space, and I'll respond. Descend and maintain 8,000 feet, November 389er Hotel Whiskey. So the text-to-speech has received my input, and now I'll go ahead and attempt to go down to the new altitude of 8,000 feet. However, the system identifies a VNAV constraint and prevents descent below 11,000 in this mode. This highlights a key training point. The aircraft cannot comply with ATC without a change in automation state. In this version of the training, we surface that conflict here in the left-hand corner, so the pilot is able to understand why the automation is constraining the behavior. In more advanced scenarios, this support would be removed, requiring the pilot to recognize that mismatch from system cues alone. So I've received a second message from ATC.
November 389er Hotel Whiskey, descend and maintain 8,000 feet.
As part of the scenario, ATC escalates the instruction, introducing urgency regardless of pilot input. This reflects how real-world environments continue to evolve even if the pilot hasn't resolved the issue. We can also see that the system is tracking everything in real time. So, if the conflict still isn't resolved, the system will introduce an additional escalation delivered through audio rather than the interface. This mirrors real operations where ATC pressure is communicated through voice rather than visual alerts. At this point, the pilot is managing both automation behavior and increasing communication pressure.
November 389er Hotel Whiskey, descend and maintain 8,000 feet.
To resolve the conflict, the pilot must switch from VNAV to FLC and then descend to 8,000 feet once that constraint is lifted. descend and maintain 8,000 feet, November 389er Hotel Whiskey. So now I've responded to the last ATC instruction, and I have switched from the VNAV mode to the correct automation mode of FLC, so the constraint was lifted and I could descend to the 8,000 feet, the new clearance. So this system evaluates performance, tracking response time, mode selection, and ATC compliance. And this allows us to assess how effectively the pilot managed the automation under pressure. And as cockpits like Anthem evolve, pilots are increasingly responsible for supervising automation. SkySpeak AI trains that exact skill, understanding what the system is doing and knowing when to intervene. So here we can see a couple of different outputs from this drill that I've just completed. The readbacks were assessed for their confidence level, and I'll see those in the dashboard here. After the scenario, the system generates a structured assessment of pilot performance, which can be accessed here with View Assessment. We map behavior to competencies like communication, workload management, and situational awareness, knowledge, problem solving, and flight path management. We also look at key metrics like response time, readback accuracy, and cognitive load, which are captured in real time. Over time, this allows us to track performance trends and identify where pilots struggle with automation. This shifts training from subjective evaluation to data-driven insight.